Mayor Jacobs?
I am here.
Committeeman Hickey?
Here.
Mr. Travellini is absent. Mr. Rodelius?
Here.
Mr. Leonard?
Here.
Mr. DiGiovanni?
Here.
Miss Urbana?
Here.
Mr. Walter?
Here.
Mr. First?
Here.
Chairwoman Gutschall?
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Bedminster Township Land Use Board was filed with the Township Clerk, sent to the Burnersville News and the Courier News, and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building, 1 Miller Lane, Bedminster, New Jersey, on June 10th, 2021.
Okay.
Okay. Stand for the flag salute.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Yeah, that's good.
We'll first open it up to the public. If there's anybody there, Janine, that has anything that's not on the agenda tonight that they would like to make a comment.
Anyone here? Not in the audience and not on Zoom.
Okay, then we can close it to the public. We have minutes from August 5th, 2021 that we need to approve.
Tim Walter, I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone that needs to abstain?
I am abstaining.
Okay. Minutes are approved. We also have a resolution, the Noel resolution. We need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve. George.
Second,
I'll second Jeff.
roll call, Janine, please.
Sure. Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Committeeman Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Rodelius?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. DiGiovanni?
Aye.
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Mr. First?
Aye.
Chairwoman Gutschall?
Aye. Motion is approved. Again, I don't know if anyone needs to accuse themselves from that resolution.
I'm abstaining.
We have determination of completeness for Chrysola. Paul?
Madam Chairman, this application was submitted, initially determined incomplete. They provided some additional information, and I did a technical review, so they are complete. They were scheduled for this evening, but it's my understanding that there was an issue with the notice. So I think the consensus is to have them appear at the October 7th meeting with new notice.
Okay. I haven't seen Tom. Is Tom with us tonight?
Yes, he is.
Yes, I'm here, Carol, and that is correct, what Paul just said about Criscola, and I don't believe anybody's here for Criscola tonight. I told them they didn't have to come.
Okay, so we can postpone it to the 7th without further notice?
Well, they actually have to do new notice.
They have to do new notice, but yeah, anybody who's here on Criscola, it won't be heard tonight, and it is expected to be heard on October 7th, provided new notice is made in accordance with municipal land use law. And that's all, Madam Chairman.
Okay, good. AT&T, the review with the county will continue next week on September 9th. And please tell Janine whether you're going to be present for that meeting so she can take a head count so we have room for everybody and distance.
Janine, I'll be there.
Thank you, Lou.
Is the county coming in person that night, or what?
They are supposed to be coming in person. That's been the plan. However, it remains subject to change.
So I guess we'll make room for them and we'll go accordingly. You hear different. Okay, tonight's hearing is Westfield Hall. Do we have the applicant ready?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. Michael B. Lavery from the firm of Lavery, Salati, Adams, and Cohen. Here tonight, Mr. Salati had his hip replaced 3 weeks ago. thought he'd be in shape to be in front of the board, and obviously he's wrong. So, now, as far as witnesses go, can we sit at the table, or I know this is partially on Zoom, so should we have them stand at the mic?
I think we have to have them sit at the table, don't we, to get the video? We want the video to be,
But the video is
Video's
coming
not-
from,
Video's straight ahead at the,
oh, okay.
All right, so it doesn't matter when we're doing.
How about this, is this a camera though?
yeah, that's the camera. So the camera is,
Okay.
so if you want, I mean, if you want to sit at a table, you can use these white tables up here.
Yeah,
If you want them in view.
it would be better. Let's see. How about we don't really need the board in view, actually. We need the board visible to them. So what if we turn the camera to this table and get the witnesses? So that the public can see the witnesses. That's the key on the witnesses. And we have to see the witnesses. That's the way we used to have the camera, I think, is towards the dais.
Oh, look, there's Michael.
Michael's on.
Don't look at the camera.
Is that what you?
Yeah, and then Mike, if you would call up your witnesses to stand with you.
I can go back and forth with the camera.
That's good.
Can they come up now, or do you want me to?
They can all come up, Nanny, but how many will fit? But we
Just have two.
we don't need a lot. So, gentlemen, please raise your right hand. Please swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And please state your name and at least a business address. And Mr. Parker, please state your name and business address.
My name is Steve Parker, with Parker Engineering, Somerville, New Jersey.
We know Steve's spelling, but please go ahead and state your name and spell it.
Andrew Markham, M-A-R-K-H-A-M, and my business address is 15 Stern Avenue, Springfield, New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Markham. And the board recognizes and accepts Stephen Parker's qualifications as a professional engineer. And please go ahead, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board. This is an application for preliminary and final site plan approval for block 57, lot 24, which is the old Burger King. We're looking to convert that to a house of worship, which is a permitted use in the zone. As you know, we just had a witnesses sworn in, Mr. Parker, Mr. Markham, who is the trustee of the church. And again, we were approved to be complete, so that is review. So this one. Okay, Andrew, you're a trustee of Westfield Hall, correct?
Correct.
All right, you're the applicant on this matter?
Correct.
And it's your intention to convert the existing Burger King on Brumfield Road to a conservation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And just tell the board a little bit about you.
Here.
We are, we are members of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. The church was established early in the 19th century in Plymouth, England, and there would be in excess of 50,000 members globally of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. And yeah, we are looking to turn this church into what we call a satellite prayer hall. Our main church is located on 10 Technology Drive in Warren, and we break into small groups. That's the reason we have these satellite prayer halls. We break into small groups for prayer meetings and also for the Lord's Supper. We do occasionally use our satellite houses of worship for a Bible reading or a gospel preaching, but primarily they would be in our main church. And due to the fact that we break into small groups, we have these satellite prayer halls in different areas where our members live.
And how often do you use it during, like, a 7-day week?
In a 7-day week, it would normally be used twice. if there was, once a month, there was a gospel preaching there or something, that would be 3 times, but largely it would be used on Sunday and on Monday.
Okay, when you're not there, when there aren't services being held there, will there be any staff there or anybody else in the building?
No, no staff. We don't rent any of our churches out to anybody. We feel our main churches and our satellite prayer halls should only be used for church purposes. So we don't.
Okay, so you don't AA, any of those groups, any other?
No, we don't have anybody. We strictly believe they should be used for church purposes only.
Okay, how about weddings, funerals, anything like that?
Weddings, funerals would all be done at our the main church, 10 Technology Drive. Yeah, all any event would be held at the main church.
And do you have any idea, like, what would be the average number of people that shows up for a prayer session?
A prayer session is normally, I would say, 50 people. And also our Lord's Supper would be a similar number.
And it's your plan, basically the outside of the building is going to stay the same. You have interior renovations, correct?
Yeah, correct. We don't have plans, we do want to add a set of double doors in the back of the building, but we don't have plans of, other than upgrading the landscaping and cleaning the property up, obviously. We don't have any other plans of really exterior changes.
All right, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but you just brought up something that brought up some advantages review letter, which was landscaping. So there's a plan to update the landscaping here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then the parking lot, I did get a comment before about the parking lot needs patching, needs to be striped.
Yeah, we will patch it and restripe it.
And this is probably more a Steve Parker question, but the proposed capacity of the building, I think we have on the plan 48 seats there now, with movable chairs. And we'd like to reserve that, we'll have up to 102, which is what the parking provides. We don't know if we're going to need those, but I don't know what to testify, but one of the biggest problems with houses of worship normally is the parking. So we'd rather keep the parking that's there, which is only 34 spaces, but you do your calculation, for 3 space. I know that was also brought up by you. So that concludes my examination of the witness on the board.
Quick question. You said there's usually 50 people that come to the church?
Yeah, most of our prayer meetings or our the Lord's Supper would be around 50. If we did have an occasional preaching there may be more people than that for sure.
How do you think you'll handle the parking if there's only 34 spots? Is that correct? 34 spots?
Yeah, that's what's you can get 102 in there with 34 spots under the ordinance. So,
Under the ordinance, but
yeah.
I mean, if everyone brings their own car, ordinance or not, right?
I don't know what the standard is for
We
church, but is one per person really the parking standard?
No. The parking standard would be 1 for 3. So we meet, if you take the 34 spaces, we would be able to get 102. So one of the issues Mr. Banish had put in his report was, well, we really need 34 spaces, but again, church, to your point, you never know.
You're going to need them.
So we think we have plenty, more than enough, but we want to keep those because we do have, all of the variances that we've requested are pre-existing.
Okay.
Because what happens is it was informing it was a burger king, but even though a house of worship is a permitted use, it's at 1 acre to 2 acres. The setbacks are large and everything else. So all these things are pre-existing and they're created. So.
No, you fall within the guidelines. I'm just, bringing the fact that you may have 50 cars there if you have 50 people there.
Well, we generally come as families.
Okay.
But when we're going to any of those occasions, we would go as families.
Okay.
So oftentimes you might have 4 or 5 people in a car.
Gotcha.
Your congregation is families, no?
Families.
So even though you only have 48 seats, some of those seats would be taken up with children and the like.
Correct. Well, what he's saying on the drawing shows just movable chairs, but yeah, there would be seats for the children.
Okay, thank you.
And the children stay inside the prayer hall during the services? Or do they go outside, or, because you don't, there's
During
no,
the services, everybody would.
everyone's inside? Okay.
During the service, absolutely.
Any outside activities?
No,
One thing I forgot to cover, we don't plan to have any sign, correct?
no, we don't normally.
Yeah, that was another thing raised in the report, but there's no plans to have any sign.
Can you tell me the hours in which the services would be, both on Sunday and Monday?
On Sunday, the workshop will be at 9 a.m. and if we do have a gospel preaching, it would be 3:30ish. And on Monday, normally our prayer meetings would be at 7 p.m.
Satisfy the fire.
Right, 7 p.m. in the evening you're talking about? On Monday? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Monday at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, Monday, 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Normally be when we would have the prayer meeting.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions for this witness?
The proposal is to keep the parking area, the current pavement as is,
Yes.
right? Including that loop around the building that was the drive-through that was never a drive-through.
Yeah, because your first reaction is, why would you have that drive-through there if it's not a Burger King anymore? But, when you look at the way the parking's laid out, it just makes sense that, usually when you come into a church service or religion, everybody leaves at once, and it would make more sense to be able to, the people
Get
in
everybody.
that half to be able to come around and queue up, because there's only one entrance and exit. So we were just thinking if, we'd like to keep that for that purpose. Because like I said, everybody's gonna be backing out at the same time, trying to get out of there, and it just takes some of the traffic around the back of there and keeps it up.
Is Steve Parker going to give testimony on that issue?
Yes.
Okay, and so Paul, are you prepared to address the comment which I believe came on Frank's comment letter?
Yeah, I think Frank is actually on the call now.
I'm trying to be. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yeah.
We can, thanks, Frank.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I did. I was able to call in. Thank you. And I'll follow your lead. What were you going to talk about for my comment letter?
Well, I think, do you want to wait for Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, Lou.
We're looking just now at site plan. Are there any, as part of this presentation, are there any interior plans, any architectural plans? I mean, we're talking about 48 seats, but what's going to be the internal layout?
Yeah, that was submitted as part of the package.
That was part of the application.
Yeah.
Jeff might be able to share the screen
I'm
of
trying to
the
find it
architectural.
myself.
Jeff, can you do that?
Yeah.
Hang on, if I can find it. Janine, which one of the documents is the architectural in?
Yeah.
That's what I couldn't find it. Sorry.
It's pretty basic.
I have the site plan, that's not.
So the third one, the architectural drawings?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was there a PDF on the, I don't know if I have that.
I apologize, I kind of missed it, but hopefully Jeff can find it.
Yeah. Is it?
You mean like this?
I don't have it in front of me, I don't.
Oh.
Yeah.
That
No, I'm not, it wasn't.
I just know the links that I put up, the third
Right.
one. was the architectural
It
drawings.
is,
I'm just trying to figure which one of the PDFs is it there. I have Ferrero, I have.
Oh, it's
Are we,
John Aberly, AIA.
Yeah.
This is just a site plan review, though.
Yeah.
Regardless of
Yeah.
whether or not they submitted their architectural drawings, we're not.
They did.
Right, but that's not part of our review.
Well, it is to the extent that you're trying to check their testimony about the number of seats, where they are.
Hang on,
You
let's
do,
go back to the.
they're not, I'm not saying that it's a problem, I'm just saying it is part of the review, and you might have issues, I don't think you will,
Bear with me.
with them. That's why I said they're pretty basic, but it's basically one open room with mobile seats, so. We can have the, Mr. Parker can talk about them, he's aware of them, he's not the architect, but he used them to calculate his parking count. Why don't we go to Mr. Parker and...
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
Do you let the right
All right. Mr. Parker, as you know, you're previously sworn.
Yes.
You're a professional engineer and a professional planner. Could you just address the board member's question about the interior layout, basically?
Yeah, I think it's described as basically a large room with obviously some bathrooms, there's some utility rooms, but the meeting hall room, it shows on the architectural plans, with this basically a double circle of chairs. And they're movable. There's nothing fixed in there, and that's, just gives them the most options for how they're going to, orient those chairs and use them for the different types of things that they have.
So they're not fixed pews or anything like that?
That's why I was getting at. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I can share
So,
that.
Mr. Parker, if you could just kind of give a brief overview of what we're doing that maybe wasn't covered by Mr. Marquand.
Yeah, I think, this is a pretty basic site plan application because there's very few changes to the site itself. In fact, I think the only changes we're talking about are the cosmetic changes that were described by Mr. Markham. Those are, patching some of the pavement, resurfacing or seal coating the pavement and then restriping it, and then obviously the landscaping, which is being updated or refreshed. There's existing light poles out there. We're going to use those. The light poles will be done with new LED lights to make them more efficient. But the lights aren't going to be on all the time. They're only going to be on when the building is being used. So they're going to be, other than security lights, the parking lot lights will be off most of the time. That's really all there is to describe about the site itself because there are no changes. This is a perfect site for the proposed use. It's a much less intense use than what was there before. Traffic, of course, will be significantly less than what was going on there. So this is a perfect use for the church. Perfect site for it.
So you mentioned traffic. So once again, what's the days and time of the meetings? Of the prayer meetings?
Sundays, they said they're going to use basically from about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and it probably goes for a couple hours. After that, on some Sundays, they use in the afternoons as well, from 3 o'clock or so till probably 5, 5:30, something like that.
Okay. And then the Mondays?
Monday permitting in the evenings from about 7 to 9.
Okay, so nothing during peak traffic hours?
No.
Okay.
So there are some variances that are required, and they're all existing variances. They're for existing conditions. Mr. Banish prepared a letter and went through those variances, and I'll just describe them real quick, just so the board understands what they are. This is a proposed house of worship. It's in the BN zone. A lot, because it's a house of worship, a 2-acre lot size is what the zoning ordinance requires. This lot is 0.946 acres, so it's existing just under an acre lot size. The lot width requirement is 200 feet, and this property is 149.75 feet. Frontage requires 200 feet, again, we're at 149.75. These are all existing conditions. There's no changes proposed, so these are all existing conditions. The lot depth requirement is 300 feet. The existing lot depth is 275.25. Side yard setback is 33.97, where 75 feet is required. Then the final one is the lot coverage. 25% is what's permitted in the zone, and the existing coverage is 53.2%. And that's, again, there's no changes proposed to that. There may be there is an easement across the front of the property to make the dedication. The county has asked for that. What that means is, although there will be no changes to the property itself, the actual lot coverage number may go up. We don't have that finalized with the county yet, whether it's going to be a dedication or an easement. If it is a dedication, what that means is the lot coverage will go up slightly, so probably just around 55% or just under 55%. But again, that's not because of any changes that are proposed to the property. It's a result of basically the denominator being smaller in the coverage calculation. That's really all that's being done and proposed out here. Again, the site works out perfect for the church and how they plan to use it. And all those variances that we went over are existing conditions.
And if we just want to address the parking, there's some questions about, keeping,
Yeah, the circulation actually works out great. It's a long, narrow parking lot. And so what that path around the building actually provides access for the cars in the back. It allows for them to come around without creating a bottleneck out of the front of the property. So it's actually nice to have that.
Steve, why don't you just show this to the camera? This was the architect's drawing of the worship room and the bathrooms, and just confirm what you said before, that's...
Yeah, this is these are the plans prepared by John Haverly. Sheet 1 of the plan set shows the layout of the church building itself, the interior. The back is where the meeting area is going to be, and shows the double circle of chairs. The front has the utility areas, the lobby, and also the bathrooms.
Jeff found it, thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, the screen is showing just a different sheet in the plan set, which has the layout that we just described.
So Frank, this is a good time for you to dialogue with Steve. You had said in your report that maybe they could make the coverage a little more conforming by removing the driveway that wasn't used for a drive-through. So Steve, you explain why you would like to have it. And Frank, did you want to add anything other than what you commented in your report?
Well, Tom, thank you. I would only want to say that I pointed out some poor pavement conditions. I would assume the engineer's going to get those reconciled, but we should make that a condition of any approval.
Right.
I don't know whether there are changes to the lighting or any drainage. I imagine probably not the drainage, but the circulation and parking all relate in part to that drive-through lane. And because we're looking at a lot that's undersized with excess coverage, if there's a legitimate way to take away some of that coverage without compromising the utility of the site, it would seem these are the kind of cases where you would do that. The other question was what kind of signage they would be having. So,
yeah, they don't need a sign.
I'll let the applicant explain why they would or would not be prepared to remove the drive-through lane.
Well, I would say when you look at your code section 13454, where you have your area and yard requirements in the VN district, the problem is you have detached dwelling units, houses of worship, non-residential uses. So, and these are all permitted. So for a detached dwelling unit, you only need a 1/4 acre minimum. House of worship, you need a 2 acre minimum. And for a non-residential, Burger King, you need a 1/2 acre minimum. And then it's the same thing with the setbacks. So this was a conforming lot when it was a Burger King. Those existing problems, they became issues when it goes to another permitted use, because now we have 200-foot setbacks. So our concern would be if 10 years from now the church wanted to sell this and somebody wanted to use it for another permitted use, and if it goes back to a commercial use, we remove pavement that is otherwise permitted in the zone, because when you look at your coverage, for non-residential uses, it's for 25,000 square feet to less than 1 acre, you get up to 50%. But house of worship is limited to 25%. So I think one of the things to look at down the road is, again, we hope the church is there for a long time, but if they ever going to sell it to somebody else, especially commercial use, probably won't be good. You put the pavement back in. So we intend to fix it up, maintain it. It's just, like I said, it seems to make sense. Especially when you look at the chart and you see how it can leapfrog back and forth between, depending on the use, the setbacks are gonna change, the coverage can change. If we're a commercial use, we have no issue, there's no issue with paving the roof. So, and again, if we were asking for a use variance, if we weren't permitted there, I think it would be a different story, but again, you'd still have the same issue, because if a commercial use comes in 10 years from now, you're gonna be putting that pavement right back here. Makes sense.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. I think since the applicant is here for a house of worship, we're supposed to use the standards that go with the house of worship. And I'm not sure that our job is to protect the site for a future commercial use by preserving previously approved coverage.
No, I understand that point, but my point is just the way your ordinance is set up, that you have different standards for different permitted uses creates a problem. And I think at the end of the day, the best argument we have is that it just makes sense to be able to have that as an outlet. When you leave a church service, everybody goes out pretty much at the same time. And the people from the back half of the property, it just makes sense to be able to come around and say everybody trying to back into one another and go out that one and just queue up on the side. To me, that makes sense.
And I appreciate the merits of that argument, because as an altar boy who used to leave mass when everybody tried to get out of the parking lot, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, thank you for that. How about a sign? Do we know what we're doing with signs and lighting?
No signs are proposed.
And they will patch and restripe the parking lot.
We had talked about this.
I'm not sure that there needs to be any dramatic landscaping plan, but the site's kind of skimpy looking now. Do you envision any kind of landscaping out into the areas in the parking lot that have little islands sticking out?
Yes, we testified earlier that, and whether you want to defer that to.
So you haven't done one yet?
We have not done a.
But they're willing to do a landscaping plan? Okay, so Paul could review that if the board is satisfied with Paul's review. Sort of an updating of the existing landscaping probably, it probably needs it. Is that something the board would like to make a condition? The applicant's offering to do it, so it's
Well, I would just like to hear from Paul on the traffic pattern.
Okay.
Like Frank, I was an altar boy who watched the chaos in a parking lot. I am not particularly troubled by the fact that the alternate access be there. I think it may serve two purposes. One, to help the people get out in a more even manner rather than everybody backing into each other. And secondarily, potentially to pick up some of the older members of the group who may not be able to walk so easily to the back end of the parking lot. So I think there's value to keeping.
Paul, I have another question. Should the building be identified somehow if they're not going to have signage? Is that going to cause a problem to identify when you're on Burnt Mills Road?
I don't think so, really. The people who are going there know where to go. This is not like people are driving down the road to drop in. I think generally the members of the congregation will be there and on more than one occasion and know exactly where it is. So frankly, I think less signs is better in Pluckerman. So I'm not troubled by no sign.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, I have a question. If they're, for lack of a better term, refixturing the exterior lights, right? They're leaving the poles but putting new lighting units in them to update them for LED. Do we need a lighting plan, or can that be a condition that it meets code and it's consistent with our standards?
Well, I think they should submit a plan. I can tell you that they will need a minor waiver for hot spots under the lights. Because that's what LEDs do, but they will also be more sharply cut off and you won't have anything over the property line. So I would suggest that as a condition, they give us a plan that shows the new lighting patterns with the LED lights.
I got a question, Paul. In your letter, Paul, you said the occupancy was up to 148. Where'd that number come from?
Well, if you look at the architectural plans, they show one area, it shows a sign, maximum occupancy 102 people. But there's also another line on the plan that shows based on the travel distance for the exit, it could be up to 164 occupants. I think the testimony is on the record that 48 seats will be there. I think, that's really the applicant's self-imposed limitation. In some ways, it ties to the parking. But again, I think the parking limits the number of people in the building. You got the parking as a limitation, you've got the occupancy load of the building, and you have the travel distances as a limitation. Right now, the applicant is requesting 48 seats, and that's, in my opinion, what it should be approved for.
And is that main hall with the concentric seats, that's separated from the other areas?
Yeah.
Which is another half of the building? That's physically separated?
Yeah, it's physically separated.
Just to clarify.
And could something be going on simultaneously in the prayer hall with the seats as opposed to the other areas?
So you have the prayer halls where the circle is, and you have a lobby or a foyer on the right side there with giving you access to bathrooms. There's a little storage area in the back corner, and then you have another set of double doors in the back.
The big room on the lower right, what is that?
That's the lobby.
So that's just the lobby.
Lobby area where you put your coat. There'll be a coat racks in there, and you can hang up your coat and that kind of stuff.
So if the limitation was 48 total congregation, that's what we're planning for.
I think we wanted to have the flexibility to do the 102, because the parking will give us 102. I don't think we're going to have 102 in there, as a matter of fact. Pictures to see what the capacity is. But, if we have 60 people in there, we'd like to do, obviously 48 is what's proposed, but if you have 60 in one of the prayer centers.
I think it's just showing 40 and 60. He's just showing you a typical setup, but it is 102 is what we're requesting as the occupancy limit.
Okay. And if you do the 1 per 3, the 34 works, but that's how you come to the 102? Okay.
Tom, do we set the occupancy limit, or is that a fire code?
They're not talking about the fire code occupancy limit, they're talking about how they
Allocate parking.
can park it. And so they've offered to you to limit it to 102 because
Based on their 30
Based on
parking
three
spaces, okay.
persons.
One spot for every 3 people.
Parking space, and that's appropriate in a house of worship. If they ever needed to go beyond that, they could come back to you for some sort of a revised parking plan, perhaps. Okay, it's not very likely, but it's possible.
Now, is there any point during the liturgical season where you might have some celebration, where you might have more than 100?
We would use our main church.
You use the technology drive for
We use
that?
10 technology drive tracks. Would be any weddings or funerals or events would all be at the main church.
Okay. Sorry, you answered that question.
Now, I just want to say, I think this change in use, as described, is an improvement, quite honestly, to what was there prior. I think the only downside, and it might be a big problem, is on cleanup day, we're not going to have Burger King boxes and bags and wrappers. And we're going to have a lighter load when we go out there, Larry.
Might have a place to go after the ball game anyway.
Yeah, right.
Is there anyone else from the board who has any questions for this witness? No, I hear none. Paul, any other comments?
No, I don't. I think the items they talked about was providing a landscape plan and a lighting plan.
Okay.
If the board wants, I can review those.
Okay, yes, please. And Frank, any other comments?
No, I think that covers it, Madam Chair. I think Paul's got it covered there.
Okay. All right. Tom, I guess we're ready for a resolution. I know we could open it up to the public first, but do we have any public?
Well, we are now open, we should do it anyway on Zoom and on here. It doesn't look like there's anyone here other than the applicant, but we'll make sure. And so, Madam Chairman, we're now open to the public for comments or questions, and we are open on Zoom. If you raise your hand electronically or press *9, you will prompt us to open your line.
It's basically all of us and Mr. Perry from the Burnersville News.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Then we'll close it to the public. And Tom, I think we could go to a resolution.
Yes, it's a motion or resolution to approve the preliminary and final site plan of Westfield Hall as described this evening with the standard conditions and with the conditions of Paul's and Frank's reports. The applicant will provide a landscaping and lighting plan for the review and approval of the township engineer. The applicant will patch and restripe the parking lot, and the occupancy limit will be as proposed by the applicant at 102. And the approval will be effective tonight, so the applicant can proceed effective immediately, provided they do all the other requirements of compliance before they start using it.
Did you have the landscape refresh?
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Okay, Janine, we need a motion first. Sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Now you're ready for me.
Yeah,
Committee
all right.
Jacobs?
Aye.
Committeeman Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Bodelius?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. DiGiovanni?
Aye.
Ms. Arabana?
Aye.
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Mr. First?
Aye.
Chairwoman Gutschall?
Aye.
Mr. Travellini, did I
Aye.
get you? No, thank you. Everybody's in favor.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Okay, welcome to Bedminster. We wish you great success in your stay here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
I'll open it up to board comments. Any board member have anything they'd like to talk about?
Oh.
Anyone? Mayor? Anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Any comments from board members?
Any
Any
board
comments
members?
from board no. Look forward to seeing everyone with the AT&T presentation from the county and the planning consultants. Also, hope everyone fared the storm as best they could. I think. How'd you do, Rich?
I did good. Absolutely.
All right.
I had one building in Berkeley Heights that the runoff was so violent, it dragged landscaping with it.
Oh, boy.
Clogged the drain at the bottom of the stairwell, an exterior stairwell. The stairwell filled with water to like 9 feet.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God.
That much hydrostatic pressure broke a steel door in a hollow metal frame from its hinges and blew through the drywall into a fitness center and destroyed it.
Okay, so my basement isn't as bad as that.
It was a pretty uneventful event.
And it didn't lose any cows, so we'll consider that a success. And Tim only got a little bit of water in his Tesla. Oh. Electricity and water worked out okay?
Right, it's not a problem.
It's driving, but as I was saying earlier, every 3 or 4 minutes, beep, 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 there's a warning that goes on the screen.
Carol, I'd like to make a comment.
Put it in a big bag of rice.
Yeah, so I was going to suggest that. Beat me to it.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
That's good.
40 hours.
I didn't see an extraordinary distribution of Teslas on the side of the road when I was driving to the airport tonight, but I must have seen a couple of hundred cars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just abandoned.
Oh, it was like a war zone. I haven't seen anything like that since Floyd.
287 trucks and cars
Yeah.
We're
everywhere.
not finished yet. Lou has something he'd like to say.
I'd like to make a comment and a follow-up to a previous application. As I was concerned and potentially predicted, the runoff from the Elite construction has flooded my building twice in the last week and a half. I think part of the problem is the construction is not finished. Their drainage system is not really in place, and their access driveway doesn't have any silt fencing and or bales of hay. So the water was coming out that driveway like a river. I wasn't really happy today or even last week because I had 2 cleanups involved on that situation. So I'm not that I don't expect anyone to say anything about it. I just want people to understand and know that what I talked about months ago with Elite has actually come to fruition.
And Lou, let me just weigh in for a second. I think it's certainly due to the fact that the drainage collection system is not there down the bottom of the road. I will follow up with them. I will keep a better eye on the storms that come in and make sure they take some precautions before those events come into place, because certainly the one yesterday was predictable. I had gone around to a number of sites and buttoned them up, but did not do at Elite. I will in the future.
Thank you. Just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
And Lou, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lou. We need to know that. Thank you. Okay, Lamington Farm, excuse me. Lamington Farm has issued or review plans. So Paul is reviewing those, I assume?
Well, they have not yet submitted them. They've advised me that they're going to be submitting those plans,
Okay.
but they have not put them in yet, so they can't be scheduled for hearing.
Okay. And Alfieri, as you know, has been postponed to October 14th. So hopefully we can hear that then. And bed 1 is still deemed incomplete. Is that correct, Paul?
That's correct. They've given me a couple of pieces of paper, but they have not given me the main item, and that's a stormwater management report. I spoke to Ron Kennedy earlier today. He said he just about has it worked out the way the DEP is looking for it, so we should be getting that fairly soon.
Okay, and Oak Developers is also deemed incomplete.
And there's been no movement on that at all.
Okay, all right. So that's it, guys. We're done for tonight, and I hope to see you all next week. So we can have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Good night.
No, have a
Good night.
Good Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend, absolutely.
Stay dry.
Have a great
Stay dry.
day, everybody.
Lay the 3, pick Clemson.